I can't be the first person to run away. After less than 6 months in charge, Mick Beale has walked out on QPR to rejoin Glasgow Rangers. Get your thoughts in via the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button. It's been a very noisy few days. In fact, it's been a very noisy couple of months as it pertains to Mick Beale, who just seems to be the most highly rated, most sought after coach out there. He's barely been a regular first team manager. Well, 21 games, we'll go on to that. But already that giant link with Wolves, and we'll get into that. And now Glasgow Rangers come calling. Obviously, there is the link to Glasgow Rangers, which we'll go into. But a very fast trajectory upwards for Beale. As I said, it's been 21 games in charge for Beale in the Championship. Obviously, we get this big stop in the season. He's left QPR in 7th place. They're only outside the playoffs on goal difference. We should add the caveat in the Championship that any team, frankly, if they were to score 3 points in the next 5 games, are probably going to drop 8 places. And if they were to score 10 points in the next 5 games, they're probably going to go up 4 or 5 places. So it's a moving feast as ever in the Championship. I also would say that maybe there's a couple of big hitters who we expect to be up in that top 8 that aren't quite there yet, but may well be there in the next couple of months, if you know what I'm saying about the Championship table. To make a direct comparison, I know we've not got a big sample size of work for Beale. Mark Warburton had them finished 11th last season, so they're up 4 places, but really, like I say, they could be either 4th or 11th again within the next few games. In terms of what the team looks like, well, Beale did have a really, really good run and they were top of the league. This all coincides with these Wolves links, which we will go on to in just a second. I suppose he's added in a couple of good wing-backs there, Parle and Laird, but is it that much different from last season? I still look at QPR and say, okay, Willock and Chair, who were already there, are extremely good. If both of those players are fit and turn up for a month, QPR tend to win most of their games. If one or other of them turns up, they're pretty much there. If neither of them turn up, and Willock's had injury problems, then they tend to struggle. So is there that big a difference? Well, you tell me in the comments, QPR fans. So, who is Mick Beale? Well, it's the archetypal, highly rated coach, isn't it? I think through Liverpool, and he went out and worked in Brazil for a while as well. Teamed up with Stevie Gerrard on the staff at Rangers. That was obviously very successful, and they won a title there. All the staff at Rangers and Gerrard went down to Aston Villa. That seemed to be going okay. Beale wanted to go out on his own and do a first-team job. He takes the QPR job in the close season. Stevie Gerrard seems to make all the right noises. I won't stand in anyone's way, but did come across a bit disappointed that he'd lost his sort of right-hand man there. I don't want to go down he's the brains of the operation. If you've been in the dressing room with both of them and you know how they work, maybe you can smarten me up, but I haven't, so I'm not going to make that slightly reductive leap that we often hear. But it is fair to say, in terms of Gerrard, that it has not gone well for him since he and Beale parted. And he got sacked, didn't he, at Aston Villa? While this was going on, obviously, Beale was at QPR. We'll get into the Wolves link in a minute, but Gio van Bronckhorst is then at Rangers, and he has been sacked. 2 and 2 together, and here we go. Beale returns to Rangers. You would think this would be a fairly uncontroversial move, wouldn't you? A manager working in the Championship, used to work for a club that is a big club in their league and in their country, goes and takes the job. Yes, it is a short little run, less than 6 months, 21 games, as we've said, but that would seem to be a reasonable thing to happen. The issue we've got here that makes it controversial goes back to those big links with Wolverhampton Wanderers. So Bruno Lage was sacked as Wolves manager. I don't know my exact timelines here. I would guess September, maybe late September. And there was an approach made from Wolves to QPR. It got very, very noisy again. I remember QPR having a game against Wigan. And then a very big deal was made of Mick Beale refusing to talk to Wolves about the job. By the way, it should be mentioned, I think QPR might have even been top of the table at this point. They were on a really nice run. Suffice to say, since the links to Wolves, they've been on a really bad run. I don't know whether the two things are linked, but it's a fairly easy 2 and 2 together to make. You tell me what you think. Now, as I say, Mick Beale did make a very big deal of not speaking to Wolves. He could have come out and said, it's not the right time, we're not going to speak, I've got a job to do here, and kind of kept it on the down low. Perhaps a little bit of experience or inexperience, so to speak, has been the issue there. What we did get was an interview on the QPR media channels with some pretty, what now look like, damning quotes. I will read some of them to you. Integrity is a real big thing for me, and loyalty, you don't give it to receive it back. I don't feel we're anywhere near where I want QPR to be in this group. I've been all in here and I've asked others to be all in, so I can't be the first person to run away. It's the aim for me to go and work in the Premier League, and the idea is to go there ourselves. It's tricky, isn't it? He's just been way too honest with all of that. And I think the one that really sticks out and that's going to really hang around Beale's neck a little bit is the I can't be the first person to run away. He'll regret saying that, won't he? Because now he is the first person to run away. And you can do many things in football, but football fans have long memories and they have an emotional investment. And if you tell them one thing and then you do the other, even if it's the right thing for you at the time and it's a sensible career move and all of that good stuff, they won't be thinking about that. They'll be thinking about the hypocrisy of saying one thing and doing the other. So who next then for QPR? We're seeming to get the same group of names linked with all the jobs now. I'm seeing a fair bit of talk about Neil Critchley, but again, for the QPR fans, he obviously, this is all so incestuous, isn't it? He walked out of Blackpool to replace Mick Beale at Aston Villa, so that would be the ultimate kind of situation coming full circle. I'm sure Chris Wilder will get linked. He had a bad time at Middlesbrough, but still a highly rated manager. Look, I do feel sorry for the QPR fans. They'd done the reset. It was actually a fairly big call to get rid of Warburton. They could have stuck with that. They wanted to go a different way. The QPR fans had to accept that and then bring in Beale, which, let's be honest, this is a gamble. This guy had never had a first team job. And QPR, whatever you say about their status, QPR are a London club who are one level lower than the Premier League. If you can get near those playoffs and into those playoffs and up into the Premier League, this is a very nice job to have. And QPR entrusted Mick Beale with that job. Obviously, he can argue in terms of the loyalty that Rangers is his former club. The big issue for Beale is those comments that he made just a few weeks before. I would question, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert on contract law, I just wonder, can these contracts not be tighter? Surely a young manager signing his first contract, surely there can be a clause in there that says, look, you can't walk out for another job within the first 6 months. So I don't know whether there's a restraint of trade thing there, but it does feel a little bit like the club has very little protection to stop this happening. Yes, I know they are apparently going to be getting some compensation here. My take, well, on the morals side of it, it doesn't look good. Maybe Beale was a bit naive jumping into that interview, which he probably did with the best of intentions, trying to explain to the QPR fans. But his words there have tied him in knots a little bit now, and his actions now contradict the words, and that doesn't look good. What I will say about football is it moves extremely fast. This will be forgotten in time. I know some QPR fans are going to be bruised about it. I get that. That's a fairly reasonable position. Time heals, and let's be quite frank about this. Winning makes fans forget anything. We all know that. If QPR replace Mick Beale and have a good season, this will be forgotten. If they have a bad season it's all going to be kind of pointed towards Beale for perhaps leaving them in the lurch. In terms of Beale, is it a good move? We can have a very interesting debate. I'd love you to comment on what's the best job here. QPR, Wolves, who he wouldn't talk to, it seemed like he could have, or Glasgow Rangers. There's kind of an argument for all three, isn't it? QPR, you can build something and try and work your way up to the Premier League without that real pressure where, you know, if you have a bad run of 8 to 10 games, you're probably getting sacked in the Premier League. You might, Championship's probably just as bad, I know, but you might get a bit more time to build something in the Championship. Obviously, Rangers has a huge sort of following in Scotland. You can get into the Champions League. You're probably going to be winning most of your games, and that's kind of fun when you're a football manager. And we have seen people make the move, Stevie Gerrard for goodness sake, Brendan Rodgers, from the top Scottish club to the Premier League that Beale openly admitted was his ambition. And then you have Wolves. Is that not the best job of all of them? Because it's already in the Premier League where Beale says he ultimately wants to end up. I suppose they were struggling. There's obviously some reason why he didn't want to talk. It's not like he went there and did an interview and the offer he got wasn't sort of what he was after. It was that he just decided not to talk to them. So it's a very, very interesting debate as to what would have been the best bet. First world problems for Beale, who gets to choose between a upwardly mobile Championship club, a massive club in terms of Scotland, and a sort of fairly stable Premier League club, I know, having a bit of a bad time. Again, I'm really interested, I don't want to labour the point, in the morals side of this, and not equating football fans to children here, but when I worked in education, I was told the one thing you can't do with these poor kids is promise them something and then not deliver. Their moral code will not accept that. And I'm interested to know your guys' thoughts on these two issues, because I've been chatting a lot with Watford fans after the sacking of Rob Edwards, and they came to me and said, yeah, but Ben, you know, you say he's been thrown under the bus, but he wasn't very good. And I said, yeah, I know he wasn't very good, but the issue that overrides that is they said they would support him through hell and high water. And we've got a similar thing here with Mick Beale saying, I can't be the first person to walk out of the door. Obviously, we then have the situation at both clubs where through hell and high water, well, that hell and high water weren't very strong barriers as Rob Edwards got sacked. And first one out the door, well, yes, you can, Mick Beale, because off you've gone. So the point I'm trying to make is it does kind of work both ways in terms of the, say, the owners of Watford making a promise and then showing really no loyalty to their manager there, and Mick Beale here making a promise really to the QPR fans and then completely breaking it. I think what I'm saying is there's no loyalty anywhere, manager to owner, owner to manager. Is there a moral loyalty from fans to managers or managers to fans? I don't know. It's all up for debate. Let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you think's going to come in at QPR? Do you think Krissy, Wilder maybe would do a good job? Get your thoughts in on all of that. Get your thoughts in. I know it's a big cesspool, but on the moral implications of Mick Beale, and does it just need to be underlined now, signed off and move on? It's done. Whatever he said, but it's done and he's gone. How do you think he will do at Glasgow Rangers? And if you want to have a little look back nostalgic, let's go all the way back to June. Have a click up there and you'll see my initial thoughts when Mick Beale was hired by QPR. Who would have thought it would have worked out like this?